Dear friends, I will continue the previous talk about possibility of utilize Buddhism in context of wisdom society. I wanted to provide more details what has to be done in order that such situation may take place. First of all, we have to realize that existing Buddhist teachings, we're talking about now, is completely different in different countries. As I already said, in South Asian countries, it is traditional religion based on the donations and some ceremonies performed by monks. And that's it. It does not much different than other religions where Buddha is considered a god. So it is a complete misunderstanding, let's put it that way. And the fact that this word Buddhism embraces this is simply incorrect. Okay, so now we have basically a Buddhism which is rooted originally in China as Chan and then transported to Japan, where it in a form of Zen, as well as various kinds of teachings which come from Tibet. Let's start with Zen. Zen is also, there are various kinds of Zen, some which has been modernized, some, particularly in Japan, which are more traditional against temples, monks, etc. In the West, on many occasions, it's very useful and provides people with mindfulness practice and even going beyond that, some sense of awareness, talks about awakening, etc. I see it as a positive thing. It doesn't particularly is interested in social issue, but could be easily adapted. Okay, it's not a religion, so it could be adapted. Okay, now we are coming to Tibetan Buddhism, and here we are entering the ocean of confusion. There is many teachings which are coming from Tibet refugees or their descendants, etc., tulkus, etc. It is a mixture of many things. There are pure streams, as pure as they can be in this Sikh Tibetan environment, of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. Sikh, I am saying it was degenerated long time ago. Of course, when you start studying the real historical information about Tibet for the last long time, you see a lot of infighting, aggression, suppression, etc., like one of the Dalai Lamas, this wonderful, godly person, not this one, but few Dalai Lamas before, managed to killed the competitor and buried him head down so he can't be reborn. Well, he got finally reborn after the Dalai Lamas lost their power. I don't want to talk. It's too grim to talk about it. You can read it if you, of course, drop the traditional propagated things propagated by various teachers. If you will rather look at the proper historical information, which can, as much as history is concerned, could be more accurate. So here, however, we have a plethora of things which could be very, very, very useful, because the practices used there, how they emerge and how they arise, it's all mythological. Nevertheless, they do exist. And if looked upon from the point of view of theoretical physics or physical verified by experiments, astrophysics, neuroscience, or more specifically neurophysics, it could be found something which science doesn't know can benefit humanity enormously, because many of these practices do produce amazing results, and obviously if we will understand how it happens, not only that it happens, it could be extremely beneficial. But that will take a long, long, long time, because you have to find the scientists who are also familiar with experimental, with doing these practices and having first-hand experience. Then they can, if they do it from the second-hand or third-hand description, it doesn't work. So before it will happen, and if it will happen, because as I say many times, the issue of humanity is the civilized society survival is questionable. Nothing is really going on meaningful, but let's leave the subject, come back to the Tibetan Buddhism, which is generally called Vajrayana or Kadampa, or, each of them has different names, etc. Since there is no time for this scientific investigation, it will be very useful to utilize the practices which are there and use them in social context, not only as the individual practices which may lead for something vaguely said as enlightenment. I don't want to get into the discussion of these things, but since I am quite familiar with practices, first-hand familiar, it is not stories I heard of Vajrayana, I can immediately say that it should be stripped completely from all the tradition accoutrements, the stupas, the temples, the monasteries, the garments which these teachers are wearing, etc. It is completely create excitement, kind of new age excitement, and detract from really what it is could be all about. also the practices are deadly complicated, and a person, it couldn't have any social impact, because I can imagine a society going on 3-year retreats to do these esoteric practices. It's completely impossible, and everybody, and these teachers should be aware of it. Though the idea of helping others and what Buddha is supposed to do, it's very good. So that could be maintained and put into action rather than individual practice. There is many other things which could be stripped from it. The whole Tibetan exoticism, because from its Indian tradition, it's different. The only thing which is some sculptures which are preserved, which usually come because it sort of coincide with invasion of Alexander the Great. Well, that's how he's called. But the thing is, he brought the Greek art and culture to India, and they blended with this Buddhism thing, producing exquisite pieces of art, some of which survived. Of course, it's nothing of the similar went to Tibet, which was supremely primitive country, a very warlike, aggressive, nomadic society, which native religion, Bon, again, it contains, I'm not familiar, but from second-hand description, it also contains a very, very interesting elements which again could be looked upon and utilized. It got melted into one in this big, big existing mishmash. It's a mishmash in which are many jewels. So the point right now is to select the jewel, and mishmash will, if people want to waste time on mishmash, that's their choice. But it would be very interesting to select the jewels. Unfortunately, so-called Western Buddhism is again another mishmash of combining a New Age with this kind of things, and nothing meaningful. It would be meaningful if it will be put in via social scrutiny and social context and seen what is useful and what is not. The usefuls are jewels. The non-useful is mishmash. Lovely word, mishmash. Anyway, that what, according to my experience and my studies and practice, could be useful, because it can. I experience it personally, so it's not second-hand. I'm not going to praise myself, but thanks to the particular trek job practice, maybe I will talk about it more sometimes, I became, and everybody admits, a nicer person. That's true. Okay. Of course, as a matter of fact, some people probably don't like me because I betrayed some. Oh, also, I forgot the most important thing. It's so much. The whole concept of guru, and which is the person whom you should obey unquestionably, unquestionably. There's no discussion. Guru is more than God. It absolutely, its commands are unquestionable. And in order to obey it, you make a vow called samaya. And if you break this vow, you go to some horrible hell and forever will be tortured by your mind or some Buddhist version of devils. I don't know. I haven't been there, so I can't talk about it. Anyway, again, to finish it optimistically, I do believe that maybe some of you, who are scientists and will be interested in following the suggested on this same site wisdom training, have the first-hand experience and start looking at it, as I said, from the points of physics and neuroscience. Okay, and liberate themselves from this Vajrayana mishmash and select what is useful for them and for society. So that's it for today, and goodbye.